I have been showing you a few of my journals. I have shown you the ones I'm most looking forward to using in the next few years that I haven't used yet. I have shown you my bullet journals. There are 10 of them, and I've shown you how they held up. I'm not focusing on content. I am focusing on the actual journal and whether I've enjoyed using it or whether I'm looking forward to using it. In today's video, I'm going to go through my hobby journals. So we have my outdoors journal, my games journal, my birding journal, my memories journal, my gardening journal, and my reading journal. And I'm just going to talk to you about how I've liked using the particular journal and how it's holding up, and some of the good features and some of the bad. So stick around and that's what we'll do. I'm Ruby from The Useful Journal. I do journal reviews of dot grid notebooks that are mostly used for bullet journaling, but various other things as well. And I share my journaling and my washi tape art. So today, hobby journals. And as I said, I've got a range here because I have a lot of hobbies. I do have ADHD, so I tend to get hyper-focused on a certain thing for a while and then stop doing it. This particular journal is by Jumping Fox Designs, and this is my outdoors journal. My activities journal, I've called it. I absolutely love this title page, but I'm not here to talk about content. This is a luxury journal. It's on the pricier end simply because there's not a lot of pages. It's only got 140 pages. It's 120 GSM paper, and I think it deserves the title of luxury journal because it's really well made, very high quality. I really can't fault the construction of this journal. There is just nothing bad to say about it. The spine is absolutely amazing. I have been using this journal for a while now. This was one of my first hobby journals, so maybe 4 or 5 years. As you can see, it's got a lot of entries in it, so I do use it quite a bit. I would say, well, let's see, 75. So it's a bit over half full. I have not had any problems with it. The spine is as strong as it was on the day it was born. There's getting a bit of, it's not chunky, but it's not as thin as it was, and it's coping okay. The ribbons have stayed well attached. They're not even pulling away at all at the top there. The pages, the end papers aren't pulling away from the cover. The pocket is still fine. Oh, a few more photos in there to use. The photos are still, the pocket's still fine. The elastic is still fine. They do lose their elasticity over time. That is not too bad though. There is a slight dent in that cover. This is an interesting cover. It is a card cover. It's not leatherette. It's not cloth. It's kind of it's a heavyweight card cover, but instead of printing, they've done this really lovely shiny finish. I literally have nothing bad to say about this particular journal. Now, in terms of the paper, a bit of page crinkle from doing watercolour, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there's a little bit of page crinkle. It has coped pretty, it's only 120 GSM, and it has coped pretty well with stamps and markers. Generally, I don't use a lot of heavy art markers in here. It's pretty good. Like, I think if you were to colour in black, it would definitely start showing through. The pen test did show a couple of things showing through a little bit, so but for what I've used it for, and for those headings, which are in all sorts of things like ink and gel pens and Tombow markers, like that didn't show through. It's pretty good. Excellent results. Very happy with my Jumping Fox Designs journal, and particularly love the content in this one. So that's my outdoors journal. Then we have my games journal next. So this is a Scribbles That Matter journal. Now, I've been told that Scribbles That Matter are usually good and they arrive in good condition. There's something a little bit wrong with the binding on mine, so I might have been unlucky. I have had a Scribbles That Matter before and it was fine. This journal is also about half full now, with heavy use of markers and lots of things stuck in. It's my board games journal, so I record the board games I play. More recently, I'm sticking in a cover of the board game. So I'm using ink stamps, which aren't showing through. The paper in this journal is 160 GSM. In terms of the paper, I've had no issues at all. I have done some watercolour, I think. Still a bit of catching up to do there. I've done a watercolour here. The paper doesn't feel as rough as it can in some journals. So that's good. It didn't show through. A tiny bit there, but generally pretty good. Like, we've got black marker here and that has not shown through. The stamp inks are not showing through, so pretty good. I'm very happy with the quality of the paper. The only thing I was ever disappointed about with this journal was, well, a couple of things. There's something wrong with the way the spine was put together. I don't know how to fix it. It just pops out again every now and then. It's a bit funny. The paper sticks out beyond the... Can you see that? It sticks out beyond the covers. So it just hasn't been bound quite right, but it's strong. It's not falling apart at all. The joins are good. Like this, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's holding together. Bit of a crackle, can you hear that? Bit of a crackle happening in the spine. That headband is not really stuck on properly, but the ribbons are, because of the headband, the ribbons are nice and secure. They're not going anywhere. Yeah, so you can see that's popping out again. But that was very much mine. I have a feeling from looking at a lot of them online that that is not a common problem. Oh, I forgot they were in there. So yeah, I am very happy with my Scribbles That Matter journal. So that, oh, and the elastic, it's still tight. That is really good. The cover is leatherette and it's got a few dents and scratches and things on it, and it's getting a bit of wear and tear around the edges, but still looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with that one. So that's my board games journal. Then we have my gardening journal. This is a Clever Fox, I think they call it the Dotted Journal 2.0. This is my garden journal, the Clever Fox journal. It is also 120 GSM paper. It didn't do particularly well in my pen test. Well, it did okay in my pen test, actually. I'll take that back. But I have found that things do go through the paper a bit. So the 120 GSM on this one hasn't held up quite as well. You can see, there's a bit of colour coming through from there. You get a little bit of page crinkle from watercolour, but most things are not showing through. Yeah, that's not showing through. So I think it's just a matter of being careful with your water use. But generally the paper is pretty good. And then let's look. There is a headband, and the ribbons are reasonably well secured. They're not going anywhere, so that's fine. Everything else is hanging on pretty well. We've got a pocket still holding together. Now the elastic is still pretty tight. It's a narrower elastic. It doesn't feel as secure. This notebook is only 155 pages. 120 GSM, so normally with your lighter weight papers you tend to get more pages in your journal, but this one you don't, a bit like the Jumping Fox designs. So I would say this is not a bad journal. I have had a couple of small issues, but I really look, things aren't showing through that much. I don't tend to use a lot of markers in this one anyway, so I think you're pretty safe. It seems to be pretty rare that that colour shows through. That's the Clever Fox. That's my garden journal. Then I'll show you this is my memories journal. Not so much a hobby journal. I could have probably put it with my journaling journals. This is a watercolour journal by Primrosia Designs. They're still available, a bit hit and miss. Watch the review that compares the Reverie with the Primrosia, because I talk about the availability of it there. It's watercolour paper, so this is 160 GSM watercolour paper. It's cold pressed, but I have to say it's a bit smoother than the real cold pressed paper. And it has coped really well for painting. There's a slight bit of page crinkle, which is a bit of a shame, but generally it's a lovely journal. I really love the quality of this journal. The construction is excellent. The ribbons are, the ribbons could be a little bit more secure. I don't know how well they'd hold up after a very long period of use. The elastic is still in good shape. Noting that, I should say, on all these hobby journals, I don't tend to use the elastic as much because I'm not carrying them around so much. It's a very, very good quality journal. No issues with the paper, the journal make. The paper is very close to the edge of the journal cover edges, which might be a problem once it starts bulging a bit more with use, but yeah, I think the spine's pretty good. Linen cover, it's got a couple of marks on it, a couple of tears there, but generally very good. So this is the Primrosia Designs, and I would also give this a tick of approval. Then we have the Reverie watercolour journal, and I adore this journal. It's really, really nice. Similar in many ways to the Primrosia. The dots are sepia compared to grey. The elastic is still very strong. Doesn't feel quite as strong as the Primrosia one, but it's fine. It hasn't lost its elasticity. I haven't used this journal yet though, so I've just recently posted a video showing how I've begun using it as my birding journal. So I haven't used it a lot, that's all I've done so far. I am using it for watercolour, and the ink is done with a waterproof black fountain pen ink, and it's coped fine with that. And writing in it with fountain pen is fine. So look, these two journals are both stunning. If you want a watercolour journal, they're both 160 GSM, they're both cold press paper. You really can't go wrong with either of them. If you really want to look into the detail, I recommend you look at my review that compares the two journals. So that's the Reverie, and that is by My Mellow Days. Finally, you will have seen very recently that I have started keeping a reading journal. a very unusual choice compared to all my other journals. This is a string tie notebook by Kleid Stationery, a Japanese brand. It has extremely lightweight paper. The paper is 80 GSM. So because it's so lightweight, it doesn't necessarily coat well with a lot of heavy inks. I'm still setting this up, so I've got a lot of catching up to do, getting there. As you can see from the pen test, things do show through the paper, so I've just had to make choices based on my pen test. But it's a lightweight paper. You wouldn't expect everything to work. It has, however, been a pleasure to write on it with fountain pens. It is designed for fountain pens. I am having to use a fine nib because when I tested the Lamy with the medium nib, there was a little bit of spotting coming through, and I suspect any other broader or heavier, more wet medium nibs would show through, so I've just stuck to using a fine nib pen. But it's beautiful. Like when you've got the right width for the paper, the results are really nice. It's lovely to write on. Now, in terms of construction, this is also my only spiral journal that I have in my entire collection. It actually works well for this because when I'm writing on this side, I can just fold it back and write on that side. So the cover has been good in that respect. I don't know how well it will coat with a huge amount of use. Like there's a pretty decent crease along there, but that it came with a crease. It's designed that way. I hope it holds together for the entire notebook fill. The string is well attached to this eyelet. Quite a bit of string coming through the other side, so I don't think that's going to go anywhere anytime soon. The pocket is actually quite handy, putting stickers in. The only thing I will say with this is it's only a cardboard cover and it's not well protected, so I've already had a bit of damage from tearing and a bit of scuffing around the edges, but there's a proper tear there, so I might have to tape that up or glue it or something to stop it getting worse. But other than that, it's beautiful. A lot of Japanese journals seem to have these plain cardboard covers. It's better for the environment. It's got a 2mm grid, but I'm having fun using it. It's kind of cute. The reason I'm using it for my reading journal is that when I stick all that stuff in, it's got room to get fatter because of the spiral binding. And there's plenty of overhang on the edges too, so it'll coat well with getting chunky. It's holding up, like it seems perfectly strong, apart from the edges of that cover that just get, you just got to be careful how you stick it into a bag. So that is the string tie notebook from Kleid Stationery. So that is all the journals I'm going to talk to you about today. We had my 2 watercolour journals, which were the Reverie by Mellow and the Primrosia journal, watercolour journal by Primrosia Designs. Then we have the Clever Fox Dotted Journal 2.0, which is 120 GSM, 150 pages. We have the Scribbles That Matter, which is 160 GSM and 160 pages. We have the Jumping Fox Designs Journal, which is 140 pages and is 120 GSM. And then we have the 80 GSM Kleid Stationery String Tie Notebook. And I think I love all these journals. The Clever Fox is probably my least favourite out of those ones, but the others are coping very well with what I'm doing in them, and I really don't have any complaints. This is a very favourable little summary. I love all of these. They're pretty good. stick around because in the next few weeks I am going to bring you my other journals I use for journaling and managing my life kind of thing. So not bullet journals, but they've got specific purposes, like my mental health journal, for instance. And I will talk to you about the journals I'm using for those. See ya.